Good evening. Happy Black History Month. Day 3. This evening we'll be covering Precious Lord, Take My Hand, which was written in Chicago in 1932 following the death of Thomas Dorsey's wife and infant son during childbirth. Thomas Andrew Dorsey, known as the father of black gospel music, combined African American church hymns with blues and jazz. Born in Villarica, Georgia, Dorsey was reared in Atlanta from the age of 5, where he came in contact with the musical sounds of the blues. He moved to Chicago in 1915 and studied at the Chicago College of Composition and Arranging and began playing in nightclubs. Dorsey put together the Wildcats Jazz Band to play for Ma Rainey in 1925. His wife Nettie was Rainey's wardrobe mistress. After suffering a severe illness in 1926, Dorsey was converted in 1928 and became active in Pilgrim Baptist Church in Chicago. Beginning in 1932, he served as the church's choir director for 40 years. Even though he had hundreds of jazz and blues songs to his credit, he turned to gospel music following the tragic death of Nettie and their infant son in 1932. Dorsey provided the following account of the circumstances surrounding the composition of his famous song. In the words of Dorsey, back in 1932, I was 32 years old and a fairly new husband. My wife Nettie and I were living in a little apartment on Chicago's South Side. One hot August afternoon, I had to go to St. Louis, where I was to be the featured soloist at a large revival meeting. I didn't want to go. Nettie was in the last month of pregnancy with our first child, but a lot of people were expecting me in St. Louis. In the steaming St. Louis heat, the crowd called on me to sing again and again. When I finally sat down, a messenger boy ran up with a Western Union telegram. I ripped it open and pasted on the yellow sheet were the words, "Your wife just died." When I got back, I learned that Nettie had given birth to a boy. I swung between grief and joy. Yet that night, the baby died. I buried Nettie and our little boy together in the same casket. Then I fell apart. For days, I closeted myself. I felt that God had done me an injustice. I didn't want to serve him anymore or write gospel songs. I just wanted to go back to that jazz world I once knew so well. But still, I was lost in grief. Everyone was kind to me, especially a friend, Professor Fry, who seemed to know what I needed. On the following Saturday evening, he took me up to Malone's Poro College, a neighborhood music school. It was quiet. The late evening sun crept through the curtained windows. I sat down at the piano, and my hands began to browse over the keys. I now present to you, Precious Lord, Take My Hand.